So I was Michelangelo, the artistic flow coming from STL. The legendary shows, I knew I'd be a star, but little did I know it wouldn't be from bars. See, that's the big league, the radar online. I wasn't the undefeated, but I still was gon' shine. I took a few L's, took them shots like Pop, but then I got my weight up like Jason Whitlock. Pivot like Brian Clark, skipping Bailey, Shannon Sharp. Don't have to scream like Stephen A to get my point across. Climb Jamel Hills, won carry championships. They were quick to pull the gun, hoping Rob would quit. But 15 years later, Rob's still the shit. Rob's still legit. Rob's still on everyone's pound for pound list. Rob is courtside, Rob is ringside. Catch Rob outside at the 50-yard line. Don't act surprised, Rob is a winner. George Steinbrenner cooking up these headlines. What you want for dinner? The Black Sports Center, you know who I be. Triple OG, the Ohio State University. That's who reps me. I'm love for a friend. I just murdered this track, call that a dead spin. The headline king is back. Before I even start today, let me say happy birthday to my precious little girl, Harper Gray, who just turned the big 3. She had an excellent birthday weekend. We went to the beach, we saw some birds, we went to the zoo, we saw a bunch of animals, we looked at Christmas lights. It was duck themed. There was a lot of ducks around. So happy birthday to my little girl. They grow up very, very, very fast. And if you're a parent, you know that. This is Headlines with Robert Littal. David Carr said something racist. There's nothing there we can sugarcoat about that. There's no sugarcoating that's going on around here. People need to understand that you can say racist things and don't think they're racist. You can do racist actions and not think you're a racist. That does not change the fact that what you did or what you said is racist. I think, and it's of my opinion, that a lot of people who are racist or who say racist stuff don't really understand the definition of racism. So I'm going to look it up for you. And just in case you don't know, I'm going to tell you what it means. Per the dictionary, okay? It says racism, the belief that different races possess distinct characteristics, abilities, or qualities, especially so as to distinguish them as inferior or superior to one another. Let me read that for you again. I'll read it for you one more time. Slow this time, because you might want to write this down, because then it'll explain a lot of things. The belief that different races possess distinct characteristics, abilities, or qualities, especially so as to distinguish them as inferior or superior to one another. Racism is discrimination and prejudice against people based on their race or ethnicity. Racism can be presented as social actions, practices, or political systems that support the expression of prejudice and the aversion in discriminatory practices. Going back to David Carr. David Carr was on television and he said that Jalen Hurts is uncomfortable and cannot read defenses, and most people would agree with him. Everything that he said after that doesn't matter. Because if he didn't want it, he could have said everything that he said after that about Marcus Mariota and Jalen Hurts needing to use his legs and him being more hurt than he's letting on, and maybe all of that could have been said without that first sentence. Jalen Hurts is uncomfortable reading defenses. He can't read defenses. He can't go past one read. And other people agree with him about that. Kind of find out, a lot of people disagree with him. And you say, Ron, why is that a racist statement, right? Because critiques especially in sports, is something that everybody should be open to. But I bring you back to the definition of racism. It is the belief that different races possess distinct characteristics, abilities, and qualities, especially so as to distinguish them from inferior or superior to another. When a Black quarterback struggles, the first thing that they go to is the mentality. That's the first thing up here, the mentality, the inferior or superior to one another. It's the mental. It's not the physical, it's the mental. He didn't mention his injury first, he mentioned his brain first. What makes it even more racist is this seems to happen even when the Black athlete is successful. Someone, accurately, I would say, came to me because I thought, what I was saying was pretty cut and dry. But he said, Rob, that's not right. He said, people have said Josh Rosen can't read defenses. Baker Mayfield or whoever can't read defenses. They said that before. They said that about white quarterbacks. They said that about Zach Wilson. So how can it be racist that they said it against Jalen Hurts? When have you ever heard a 10-2 white quarterback mentality be questioned? Think about it. When have you ever heard a Super Bowl quarterback that's went to the Super Bowl mentality be questioned? That's where the racism comes in. It's the belief that a Black quarterback cannot be successful because of his mental, has to be because of the physical. Now, that type of stuff is ingrained in you. And you have to really, really be on your high horse to say something like this in front of a camera when you yourself was an NFL quarterback that failed miserably. Your brother, no shade to him, made a lot of money, is an NFL quarterback that has failed miserably. So you have two brothers that have been in the NFL, both with losing records, but then had the audacity to say a Black quarterback who is 33 and 13 in his career, won 27 of his last 29 games, has had 4 fourth quarter comebacks this season, has taken his team to a Super Bowl. You have the audacity to question his mental capabilities. I've never heard anybody question Josh Allen's mental capabilities. He's 6-6. That's what's racist about. Because you have to find what is the one thing about it that's different. What's the one thing? You can only find it in the shade of color. Brock Purdy went through a little bit of a tough stretch. And I, like others, was like, hey, man, I wonder, what's going on. And I was told, and I heard in the media that the reason was, he didn't have Deebo Samuel and he didn't have his left tackle, Trent Williams. That's what I heard. I didn't hear anything about his mental. I didn't hear anything about him not being able to process. I didn't hear anything about him being uncomfortable. I just heard his best players was hurt. And when he got his best players were back, then he was better. Shockingly, right? What the other part of it that doesn't make any sense to me is we're talking about Jalen Hurts. I watched that game. I saw the game. Jalen Hurts wasn't missing tackles. Jalen Hurts wasn't letting Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel run free. That wasn't Jalen. Jalen Hurts wasn't playing defense. Was it his best game? No. But how many games will any quarterback win when their defense give up 40-plus points? Why are we talking about Jalen Hurts? Not talking about the defense. It is my thought, and I like to use, a very simple theory in things, is that sometimes we can make stuff more complicated. We have all these stats and all these numbers and all these breakdowns. Simply put, to be a consistently good quarterback in the NFL. That does not mean you're going to win a bunch of Super Bowls. But to be a consistent quarterback in the NFL, you have to be smart, okay? You have to be able to process. You have to be able to be clutch. You have to be able to think on the run. You have to be able to inspire. You have to be able to lead, okay? Those are just facts. You have to be. You cannot be a dumb football player and be a winning quarterback. I don't care what complexion you are. Your brain has to work at a higher level to be a winning quarterback. That does not mean that you're going to win Super Bowls. Dan Marino, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, didn't win Super Bowls. Took John Elway late in his career to win Super Bowls. Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl early. You thought you was going to win more, hasn't been back for a while. Aaron Rodgers, Mr. Vaccine, been in the league. Elite, 4 MVPs, won Super Bowl. Drew Brees, 1,000,000 yards, won Super Bowl. But they were consistently good. And if you're a consistently good quarterback, your brain has to function at a higher level. You can't be, it's just illogical to sit there on TV and say a quarterback cannot function off of his first read and he's won 27 or 29 games. And let me tell you something. I want to show you something real quick. Well, not show you, but I'll tell you. I want to look at the Eagles' schedule this year, right? I might even go back to last year. I want you to look at this, okay? The Eagles' defense. Now, some would say if you're a one-read quarterback, you're getting carried, right? You're getting carried. Like the Ravens and Trent Dilfer. You're getting carried by the defense, right? That's what, if you're a one-read quarterback, you have to be getting carried by the defense in the running game, right? Well, I'm looking at the Eagles this year, right? And some of these games. Gave 42 to the 49ers, 34 to the Bills, 23 to the Cowboys, 31 to the Commanders. Hell, the Jets even scored 20. 31 to the Commanders, 28 to the Vikings. So this is not the Ravens. This is not the 2000 Ravens. This is not the Ray Lewis Ravens. You know, that's not them. But this is you tell me a one-read quarterback is doing all this. When he's winning games where his team is giving up 30-plus points. Go look at quarterbacks' records when their teams give up 30-plus points. It's not in the positive. That's racism. That's prejudice. And it's always the guys with Jesus in their title. Jesus wouldn't tell you to say that. And he's doubling down and tripling down and context. There is no context for what you said. It's racist. You would have never said that about your brother. You would have never said that about your brother. You would have never said that about Brock Purdy. You would have never said that about Josh Allen. No, you wouldn't. You just wouldn't. And anything else is a lie. It's a lie. To get on TV and tell the world that a quarterback is uncomfortable reading defense. A quarterback that had almost 400 yards in a Super Bowl. 400 yards. It wasn't his fault that the defense couldn't stop the same play the Chiefs was running over and over again. That's the audacity of it all. It's really frustrating. It's frustrating. And then people always say, well, why you guys are sensitive about black quarterbacks? This is why. I don't believe anybody is beyond critique. And you could take a bad game, and say, well, he could have did this better. He wasn't great here. He wasn't great there. But the way that they present it, it's in such a because as a black person, you understand that. David Carr, as he was doubling down, he said the Eagles can't be successful with Jalen Hurts hurt and not being able to use their legs. They're 10-2. They're the best record in the NFL. They're 10-2. So they are successful. Even if Jalen Hurts is hurt, he's won 10 out of 12 games. That's good. That's successful. It's hard to win Super Bowls. You don't know what could happen. To sit there on TV and say they're not successful because they lost one game. The 49ers lost to the Browns. They have 3 losses. They got cooked in some of those losses. The Ravens lost to the Colts. The Chiefs lost to the Packers. So what? That don't mean nothing. It happens. Nobody. There's only reason only one team has ever went undefeated in the NFL. The fact that the NFL promoted that was disgusting. It's disgusting. Jalen Hurts is one of the faces of the league. And you have a guy who's a terrible quarterback himself. His brother's not great, except they get money. Go on national television, your channel, and tell people that Jalen Hurts is not smart enough to go past one read. So somehow he miraculously is just winning these games when they're behind by 10, they're behind by 14, when the defense gives up 30 points. Somehow he is miraculously winning these games. Defenses are allowing him to win these games when he can just see one wide receiver. That's it. They never decide. They don't cover just the one wide receiver because obviously that's the only person he can go to. According to David Carr, quarterback expert, these teams are allowing Jalen Hurts to win 27 or 29 games, knowing that he can only look to the right or the left. The crazy thing about it was he said, well, Jalen Hurts is hurt, so they haven't been able to run some of the plays that have been more effective for them in the past, right? That's a good assessment, right? They're still 10-2. How? How are they still 10-2 then? If he's not doing the stuff that you said worked for him before, he's hurt, so he can't use his legs like he did before. How is he 10-2 right now? And it's not because the defense is the 2000 Ravens. How? Tell me that, David Carr. How? Explain that to me. Go to the telestrator. Explain that to me. You said he's hurt. He can't do what he used to do. He can only do one read, and so they need to sit him down. But somehow they're 10-2. Sometimes they have 4 comebacks. How? It's disgusting. It's truly disgusting. And it's frustrating because no matter what you do as a Black person, no matter how successful you get, there's always going to be some white guy somewhere saying you're not smart, that you don't have the mentals. They said it about President Obama. You can go all the way up to the top. He ain't smarter than me. So it doesn't matter if you're a quarterback, an engineer, music executive, built your own business. There's always going to be some people that look down on you just because of the color of your skin. And what is really frustrating, and if I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm thinking this is what's really frustrating to me, right? I've done more in 3-4 years than these guys have did it 10. Right? I did it 10, 11 years. And you have the audacity to question my mentality, how smart I am. That's crazy, man. I had to get that off my chest. That's crazy. Moving on, Stephen A. Smith spoke with Clay Travis, and I know a lot of people kind of roll their eyes at that, but Clay, or I should say Stephen A. is always on Fox and everything. I think he's a Republican, but I mean, he's never, with stuff like that, as long as you make your feelings and intentions known, I don't try to get too upset about it. If that's what you want to do, and that's, you're clear about it and everything, and he's pretty clear about it, that he doesn't mind going over to that side. Really doesn't matter what you or I think about, dealing with those type of people. But he went over there and he was talking about, ESPN and what his plan was. And I just thought it's a $50 million gamble, okay? Maybe 40 million, but I'm just gonna say 50. Sounds better. Sounds better for the title. It's a $50 million gamble. What do I mean by that? If you've been watching closely, and maybe you haven't, because I think it's more of a media type of thing. ESPN laid off a lot of people that made a decent amount of money because they weren't hot takers. They weren't big on social media. They weren't big on saying crazy racist things like David Carr and stuff like that. They got rid of that fat and they brought in people with that money that they felt could move the needle, like Pat McAfee, like Mad Dog Russo. They've really changed the formatting on pretty much everything they do to be sort of a hot take. Um, and that's a strategy that they're going with. And I guess you can say it's been successful to an extent uh, because they do have the engagement. People say they don't like that type of stuff, but they love it. So I'm not even knocking them on that. I told you guys, I have probably YouTubes or podcasts or radio appearances or TV appearances from 10 years ago telling you this is exactly what was going to happen. I remember I was laughed at. I mean, literally laughed at, like, like laughed at because people would kind of get on me about my content and the way that I kind of presented things and stuff, telling me that wasn't real journalism, et cetera, et cetera. And I told them, I said, you'll see in a decade, everything that I do, it'll be stolen and it'll be done by mainstream media. I told them that. I got laughed at. Like, nah, nobody's gonna be doing that. Nobody's gonna be doing like the headlines and the IG models and all of this, the a little more the salacious, type of stuff. I said, watch. I said, you watch. 10 years. In 10 years. I'm talking a long time. I said, this is what's gonna happen. And I also said the journalists are gonna want to be the celebrities. They're gonna want to be the ball players. They want to have that type of fame. And you seen it. It happened. It happened. Right in front of my eyes. I just see stuff just literally just stolen from me. Every once in a while, I see a headline. I'm like, yeah, okay. I see a story that I know nobody was paying attention until I put it. Then all of a sudden it's everywhere. They talking about it on all the shows now. I'm like, okay, okay. It's fine. I profited off of it, so I'm not hating or anything, but that's where it went. So Stephen A, I mean, for his part, seeing where this was going and he's pushed into that. And he talked a little bit about ESPN and what his position is. And I think you could tell that he's taken, the money that he's made and he's starting to position himself in a situation where he can work independently without them. I don't think that it's just an opinion. I don't think that's what he wants to do. But what I think he wants to leverage that to the point where they have to pay him $50 million. I'm serious. They had to pay him $50 million. He sees what Pat McAfee got. He sees what Greeny gets. He sees what some of these other people get. They pay him a Mad Dog like what $100,000 an episode. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, great for him, but it's ridiculous. He's not even good at all. But he's won $50 million, and he's gonna want some power at the network. He has power now. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he kind of controls, First Take, but he still has some ways to go up that ladder. He wants that freedom, like Pat McAfee has, to kind of just roll up in there with a wife beater and just like everybody else has suits on, but whatever. But that's the plan. And if they look at him and call his bluff, he can go independent. He that's why he has this show. The Stephen A. Smith show, he said himself, it's a TV show. Yeah, quote unquote podcast is on YouTube, but that's how people get their news. More people stream now than probably watch it on, but he can take it to linear TV. Think about it. He has it's a well produced show. You can look and see. You can easily take that to Peacock, The Zone, Amazon Prime Video. Take it anywhere it wants. Just like Joe Rogan. It's a gamble though. You leave ESPN. It's like leaving, Boys to Men. It's like leaving New Edition. It's like leaving Destiny's Child. There's a risk involved. Are you gonna be Bobby Brown or you'll be Ralph Tresvant? There's risk involved in this, but he's positioned himself in a way that he means a lot to the network. Now the question begs, does ESPN believe that they're bigger than Stephen A. Smith in the sense that they can plug in Shannon Sharp or plug in somebody else in the first take and the train keeps rolling? One of the things that he always talks about is that, first take has been number one for several, you know, years, a decade or so. Uh, it's kind of odd because they really have no competition in the sense that, ESPN obviously is shown a lot more. It's a go-to channel. It's been around for 5 decades. So FS1 could not compete with that. I think you do. The only way you can see if FS1 could compete with that if they put like Undisputed on Fox, like the actual channel. Like so, yeah. I mean, you want to see the ratings go up and things like that, but he's kind of number one, by default. I mean, there's really no channel that can really compete with ESPN. This is not like NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, the CW, if that's still a thing. It's not like that. It's like it's ESPN. They have no real rival because they kind of set in the spot and they've been the only ones there. People have tried. FS1, that's a very, very small window. I mean, it's a subsidiary of a TV network. You know what I mean? ESPN is an independent, network on its own. It's owned by Disney, and obviously they get a push from ABC. But ESPN has been a standalone for such a long period of time. He has no competition. So that's the question. The question is, who is more valuable in this? Does ESPN see the value of getting Stephen A. Smith 30, $40 million, how many that he asked for, or do they think he's replaceable? Do they see the moves that he's making as a hostile takeover? And furthermore, if Stephen A leaves, will he be able to carry that audience with him? I think he can because he's famous. You know what I mean? Like certain people are media famous and other people are actually famous. So I'm not going to say any names, but let's just say there are certain people on First Take that didn't, if they left ESPN, they would just kind of go back to being anonymous, so to speak, right? Yeah, I don't think Stephen A would be anonymous. I mean, he's famous outside. It's almost like when a basketball player, a football player, it goes beyond famous on the court. Use Tristan Thompson, for example. Tristan Thompson was a basketball player. If you knew basketball, you knew Tristan Thompson. Then he got with Khloe Kardashian. He became famous outside of basketball. I believe Stephen A is famous outside of basketball to where he has enough connections, he has enough money that he could do his own thing independently and take it. It's a risk, but it's easier to make the risk when you're already making $15, $16 million a year. You know what I mean? It's a risk, but it's not like a risk like us quitting our job to see what's out there. That's a little bit more of a risk, but it's a $50 million risk that Stephen A. But you never know because what if he already has something in his pocket? You know what I mean? What if he's already talked to Peacock? What if he's already talked to Prime Video? What if he's already talked to FS1? What if he's already talked to some of these other people and they say, listen, if you leave, the check's here. You want to go on Tubi? The check's here. If you want to leave, your show immediately. Keep doing your show. Keep getting your YouTube numbers up. As soon as you're ready, bam, you got it. 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, 100 million. And here's Stephen A. Smith. He still have access. He still go Bleacher Report, TNT, wherever he wanted to do his stuff on. He can still be on the court side, still be at the NBA Finals. He still be at the college game day, whatever he wanted to do. He's Stephen A. Smith. He's kind of earned that right. It's a love him or hate him. I know a lot of people don't like Stephen A. Smith for various reasons. A lot of people love Stephen A. Smith. The whole point is I was told when I was in school is never be indifferent. Never have people feeling indifferent about you. You won't make no money like that. They have to have some sort of feelings about you. While Stephen A. Was talking to Clay Travis, they spoke about quote unquote woke culture, and I hate that. I hate it with a passion because racist white people steal from Black culture all the time, and it's not just stealing from it; they rearrange it and manipulate it to something that it was never meant to be. If you go back 10 years, let's say 10, 15 years, and somebody told you to stay woke. A lot of times it was in jest, like, just stay woke, high, whatever, right? But if you go back a little further, when someone told you to stay woke, it was because there were things that were happening around you that you needed to pay attention to, be it police brutality, be it things happening in the school system, be it in the neighborhood, being them trying to take away your benefits. It was about staying aware of what society was doing to Black people because they try to hide it. They try to manipulate it. They try to brainwash you into believing one thing. So when someone would say, "Hey, brother, stay woke," this is how they do you at your job. This is how they do you with your health insurance. This is how they do you when you're trying to get a loan on a house. You know what I'm saying? Stay woke. Pay attention. It was about keeping your mind open of what was going on around you as a minority. That was all it was. you know. And like I said, some of it turned into comedy, stay woke, my brother, or whatever it may be. But the premise of it was always, hey man, keep an eye out. The shit's happening around you that you need to be aware of. And it could be happening right behind you. The person laughing with you is the same one that stabbed you in the back. And it wasn't even just for against prejudice and racism. It's just sometimes your own people. Like stay woke. That brother that's with you right now, that girl that you're helping out, they're talking bad about you behind your back. They're plotting on you behind your back. Stay woke. That's all it was. Now I have absolutely no idea. At some point, white people decided that means we don't want to have gay people in movies. How did it get from there to there? That makes no sense to me. Every time they don't like something in a movie or something, that's too woke. That's too woke. Gender swap or race swap, that's too woke. And the fact that they took it from something to where Black people were trying to keep an eye out for things to damage them and use it as a word of things that they just makes them uncomfortable as white people. That's really disturbing to me, and it should be disturbing to you. I was watching Invincible. I'm sure some of you watched that, and I was reading the comics as well because I'm one of those type of guys. If I watch a movie or something that's based off a novel or a book or something, I go back and read it just to just see the differences and see which one was better, stuff like that. So I started reading the comic book, and there's a couple of things in the comic book that are different than what's in the TV show. I'm looking online, Invincible went woke. It's an article. I said, what? Invincible? How? Oh, well, his girlfriend on the TV show is Black instead of white in the comic books. Okay. Oh, his best friend is gay in the TV show, and he's straight in the comic books. Okay. All right. I mean, this is a book about, aliens and all of this type of stuff like that. Like, it makes it hard for me because there are some things I'm like, okay, really? Did we need to change this? Did we need to swap that? And I get that part because sometimes they go too far. They go too far. The MCU maybe went too far with some of that stuff. But that's nothing to do with find your own word is what I'm saying. Find your own code. It is crazy to me that some white people, I won't say all, don't hate Black people so much, but they're so intense about our culture and wanting to take from us. Why would you want to say nigga? Like that was always my what like I don't go around saying, hey, I want to find what the Chinese people say to each other, but it would be a slur for me. I just have to, I just gotta say it because they won't let me say it. You know what I'm saying? Or Italian people or whatever it may be, Jewish people, whatever it may be. Oh, I just gotta say the thing that they hate so much. Oh, I know it's a slur, but they won't let me say it. I don't understand. I don't understand it, but it's frustrating. That's just very frustrating. Speaking of frustrations, you play to win the games, unless you're Florida State. This is simple. It's not even something that I'm going to talk long about. If you're in a Power 5 conference, you win all your games, you win your conference championship, you should be in the playoffs. Unless there's 5 undefeated teams, it should not even be a discussion. It's just an automatic. I don't care what happens to your quarterback, your coach, your left tackle, your running back. If you win all the games, you should be in. It's just as simple. There's no way, there's no explanation, there's nothing that you can say that can change the fact that a team, a bunch of players, a bunch of young men played very hard for an entire year. They did not lose. Even after the quarterback was hurt, they did not lose. Even when they had to go to their third string quarterback against a very good Louisville team that whooped some actual really good teams, they did not lose. They have a month to prepare. Their backup would be ready. He's played well in the past. There's no excuse. Alabama lost to Texas at home by double digits with their starting quarterback. Okay? That they benched the next week. Georgia lost in the conference championship game. Texas lost the Red River Shootout. Those are L's. Okay? Those are losses. They're losses. They're clear losses. Washington didn't lose. Don't care how they won. They won them all. Yeah. Michigan, hey, they may have taped all the games, but they didn't lose. You win all the games you're in. I don't care how you won them. I don't care if it was 9-7 or 90-70. No, wait a minute. 9-7 or 90-7. Something. I don't care. You played to win the game. If you win the game, you're in the Big 10, you're in the Big 12, you're in the ACC, you're in the SEC, whatever it may be, those Big 5 conferences, Big 10. If you win all your games, you're in. It's pathetic. It's pathetic that they put Alabama in. And I don't believe at all, who's playing. No. No. You can make an argument that Ohio State is better than Washington. You can make an argument that Georgia's better than Texas. You can make an argument Georgia's better than Michigan. You can definitely make an argument Georgia's better than Washington. It's not about the top. If it was top 4 teams, Georgia would probably be in. Georgia, and if you ask 100 people who would win between Ohio State, and Texas, a lot of them would say Ohio State. A lot of them would say Ohio State. Those are just facts. It's not about the top 4 teams. It was simply about ratings. You want to get Alabama in there. It's about attendance. Alabama and Michigan, much bigger game than Alabama and Florida State. And they just needed an out. They just needed it out. And even though Florida State won 3 games without the quarterback, they got it out. That was their out. The out was they didn't score a lot of points with the third string quarterback, knowing that the next game is not for a month. They wanted it out. Thank God for the 12-team playoff. And if you're one of those people that are trying to ration, I can tell you never played sports. Because imagine playing a sport you went 12-0, and then that's like that. Maybe the Eagles should give back that Super Bowl they won when Carson Wentz got hurt. I mean, the quarterback got hurt. Maybe the Giants should give it back. Remember Jeff Hostetler? Maybe the Bills shouldn't have played the one game where they beat the Oilers with Frank Wright. I mean, if somebody gets hurt, that means they shouldn't play, right? If the Bengals make the playoffs, should they not get in because they don't have Joe Burrow? If Sunshine can't play for Jacksonville, they make the playoffs. Should they not get in? Is that what we're doing now? You play to win the games. Follow me on Twitter at BSO, Facebook, Black Sports Online, YouTube. Please subscribe, BSO TV, along with Instagram, BSO TV. I'm TikToking at Robert Little BSO. I will be in Vegas for the first annual in-season tournament. Can add that to my resume. Never forget, I'm your favorite journalist, even though I was told I would never be one. How about that? Yeah, I will be at the T-Mobile Arena tomorrow for the 5 p.m. Eastern game and the late game as well, and in the championship on Saturday. So I'll be doing a lot of live hits, a lot of social media activity. So be sure to follow along. I appreciate you as always. This is Headlines with Robert Little.